G'day guys, and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be flying with Japan Airlines on their A350 in first class on the domestic route here with the A350 from here in Tokyo up to Sapporo. This is actually a very unique sort of situation. I don't believe there's too many A350s running domestic routes, at least at the scale that Japan Airlines does within the country. So it's going to be interesting to see what the first class is like. I'm really looking forward to this one. I don't have a window seat today, but aside from this, I'm sure we'll make a video and have some fun. Anyways guys, about time for me to check out. Let's get going. So after spending an amazing 5 days in Tokyo, staying in the Shinjuku area, last night I ended my time in the city by going back to a personal favourite in the Golden Guy area, checking out some cool bars. So although my energy might be low today, I'm definitely excited to see what the Japan Airlines A350 domestic first class has to offer. So before we arrive at the airport, let's talk costs for today's flight. Now usually, if you're hopping on the Japan Airlines website and looked about 3 months out from today's video, it will set you back around 49,000 yen or about 500 Aussie dollars for a first class flight from Tokyo to Sapporo. Now believe it or not, I spent $0 on today's flight as Japan Airlines are partners of the Qantas Frequent Flyer program. I only used 28,800 points and yep, $0 in total, as generally I at least have to pay for taxes when booking classic rewards. So after arriving at the airport, I made my way to a check-in kiosk where I didn't have any luck, so I opted for the human option. Now because we're flying first class today, we had our own security area, which was super fast and efficient and wouldn't have been longer than 1 minute. Because of today's flight, I have access to the Japan Airlines Diamond Premier Lounge here at Haneda, which is supposed to be their top domestic lounge for first class passengers and top tier frequent flyers. Honestly though, I came in here with higher expectations and admittingly, I left pretty underwhelmed. The lounge itself felt pretty plain and dull. Yes, there were plenty of seats, charging points, and decent Wi-Fi, but that's about where the positives ended for me. It was also quite crowded when I visited. Now in terms of food and drinks, the options were very limited. They mainly had things like bread rolls and rice balls, none of which I really could eat with celiacs, plus the standard soft drinks, tea, coffee, beer and so forth. Now apparently in the afternoons they offer a signature curry bread, but overall it felt quite limited, and it's definitely possible I've come in here with higher expectations although flying domestic today, as I really expected something just a little more. There are some massage chairs which I really enjoyed, especially nursing this hangover after a big night in Tokyo, and even a small library seating area, but I didn't find these enough to make up for the overall lack of atmosphere. Even for a domestic lounge, once again, I found it very bland, and although I didn't come in expecting an international first class lounge, I certainly did leave somewhat disappointed. Now, Haneda's domestic operations are massive. In fact, most of the 85.7 million passengers which passed through the airport last year are primarily domestic, travelling within Japan. Terminal 1 is Japan Airlines' home base here, with dozens of flights each hour linking Tokyo to every corner of the country. It's a real showcase of how seamlessly Japan handles domestic air travel, quick security, efficient boarding, and an on-time performance that puts most other airports to shame. For Japan Airlines, Haneda isn't just another hub, it's their flagship domestic stronghold. From here, their fleet of 737s and Embraer jets shuttle business travellers and holidaymakers alike, while their larger wide bodies, like the one I'll be hopping on today, connect Tokyo to major regional centres like Sapporo, Fukuoka and Okinawa. Alright, I'm just outside my boarding gate now, gate 15. Yeah, unfortunately there was much to be desired with that lounge. Maybe my expectations were too high, I'm not too sure. I was thinking, first class, maybe a little bit nicer. It wasn't horrible, but I just found a few things a bit funny, like wasn't really any food options whatsoever for myself. Having celiacs, I mean, sure, you're in Japan, there's not much options anyway, but just generally in like business class lounges, I was expecting maybe to have a bit of a breakfast or something. But yeah, it is what it is. Had a few glasses of water, a massage in the massage chair, and then wasn't really much else to do aside from just sit up there and wait. So I thought maybe just better off coming down here, do a bit of plane spotting, and then yeah. Anyways, we have about an hour until boarding, and yeah, looking forward to it. So today, I'm sitting in seat 2H for this flight up to Sapporo. Now these domestic first class seats are not to be confused with the international layout, as today we have 2 rows in first class in a 2-2-2 configuration. So 12 seats in first class, as opposed to the 6 seats within enclosed suites for the international A350s. Now don't get me wrong, they do operate some international flights with the same layout I'm in today, but generally they'll be on shorter flights, just for example, between Japan and Korea. Now the seat I'm in today has 53 inches of pitch and about 20 inches in width and fairly comfortable with lots of padding. Not long after boarding, I was greeted by a friendly crew member who greeted me in English before giving me the choice between still or sparkling water before we depart. But just on first impressions, I really like the 15.6-inch high-definition screen, and something I always love to check for on the A350s is the outside aircraft cameras. So for today's flight, sitting in the aisle seat, I'll still get a nice view for takeoff. But for now, let's enjoy the view from the outside of the aircraft as we make our way up north to Sapporo. So for today's short flight up to Sapporo on JAL 519, we're expecting a flight time of around 1 hour and 15 minutes, which will cover the distance of about 508 miles or 818 kilometers. Now today's actually the first time I've had people in the cabin have the window shades down on takeoff, as I've always thought this was a safety measure so passengers can see outside, but thankfully I have my trusty IFE in front of me with their outside camera views. Speaking of the IFE, it's definitely a standout for myself. It's one of the better flight maps I've come across. There's also plenty of TV shows, movies, and other entertainment available, and well and truly good enough for a 1 to 2 hour flight, which generally this domestic A350 will service. So unfortunately with celiacs, there were no options available for me today, which was a little strange as I've had gluten-free meals on domestic flights within China and plenty of other countries where celiacs isn't really a thing, but when I went to enter my dietary requirements, it said it wasn't available for this particular flight. But for majority of you out there, you can be guaranteed a full meal and friendly service from the cabin crew. Now once at cruising altitude, I attempted to connect to the Wi-Fi, however this didn't seem to work. But I've had similar issues not just with Japan Airlines but other airlines before with the Wi-Fi, so it's possible it might just be me, although funny enough, whenever I've paid for Wi-Fi while flying, I don't seem to have any issues at all. Just to clarify, that was with Emirates and Vietnam Airlines, among a few others. Now at this point, I would say as someone who has paid $0 for this flight overall, and just spent a limited amount of points for the seat today, I really have no grounds for any complaints or gripes. The food situation is minor, as it's a short flight, there's plenty of entertainment in the IFE, so the Wi-Fi is not a worry, and overall these chairs are very, very comfortable. Now I mentioned earlier that the cost of these first class flights, if you were to book direct, would sit around 500 Aussie dollars 3 months out from today's video. However, I do recall when actually flying on the day of this flight, I did see some tickets much more cheaper than this price and even under the $400 mark. Some even around $350. So I would definitely say it's worth it for the lounge access, priority boarding, the overall comfort of the seats, great IFE, and of course the premium service from the Japan Airlines cabin crew. And finally, what a way to make it up to Sapporo. But as it's just about time for descent, let's enjoy the landing into Sapporo, and once you're at the hotel, we'll wrap this video up and I'll give my final thoughts there. Alright, so it's the following day after hopping off the flight with Japan Airlines on the A350 in first class. I mean, look, it's obviously not so bad considering I didn't pay a single dollar in taxes. As most of you know, generally like when I like to do these sort of flights, business class, first class, I'm using the Qantas Frequent Flyer platform or program, and that way I can use frequent flyer points, then also pay a certain amount in dollars, like taxes, which generally is the case, but for this flight I didn't actually pay any amount whatsoever. It was $0 and roughly around the 30,000 sort of point mark, which isn't too bad at all. Just for a rough gauge, let's just say Adelaide to Sydney, business class, domestic, about an hour and a half flight, roughly that sort of area, hour and 40 minutes. I'd say, look, it'd be at least 28,000 points, that sort of area, I'd say. Yeah, 30,000, 28,000 points, that sort of area. And yeah, I mean, sure, it's better than that. I don't really recommend anyone flying, just got to adjust my camera here. I don't really recommend anyone flying business class domestically in Australia unless you have a company that's paying for it for you, or you don't mind churning the points, whatever. For me though, I'd rather save those points than use them on the international business class flights, as you'll find a lot more value there. So yeah, I mean, realistically, because I didn't really pay any amount for it, it was just the points. Can't complain too much, but I will say, I have to admit, I did have higher expectations for the lounge. I really thought the first class lounge was going to be a bit better. You know, once again, let's just make an example of, like, say, business class lounge in Australia. Even the Adelaide one was better than the first class lounge at Tokyo. Well, then again, it was Haneda, so I'm not sure what the situation is over in Narita. However, I don't think there's too many domestic flights going from Narita. So yeah, at least for Haneda anyway, it's not that great whatsoever. There was really no food that I could eat there.
I could just get a bit of, drink some water. There was a massage chair, and then other than that, I just got bored of it and left early, and spent the rest of the time in the terminal where there's more places to eat, sit down, look around. Just my personal opinion, I guess, but yeah, was nothing special whatsoever. The actual flight itself, Cobber next to me had the window shade down the whole time, even before takeoff, as soon as he hopped in the seat. Maybe that's just a thing over here that it doesn't matter if you have the window shades down the whole time. However, I thought for safety, at least pretty much every other place I've been, for safety, you're meant to keep them up so you can see what's going on outside. However, nothing was said to him. Other people were doing it too, so maybe it's somewhat normal here. I'm not too sure. But that's a bit of a pain. I mean, I wasn't going to see too much seated sort of on the aisle side there anyway, so I'm not too disappointed. I can still film a little bit on the IFE with all the cameras on the A350, which isn't too bad. Once again, it comes down to the food options on the flight. There was absolutely nothing for me, and this is one of those flights where usually I can manage it through Qantas. I can select gluten-free meals, but it wouldn't even allow me to do it for this flight because it said not available. And then on the menus, there was really nothing available for that particular flight. Whoops, just smashing things here. There was really nothing on that particular flight that was okay for me to eat. There was one thing which was not available that day for particular routes. They fly with that aircraft, but there was nothing on that day. So really all I could have was water, and that's about it. And I was not interested in alcohol, as I'm trying to look after my stomach. So yeah, quite disappointing. Once again, just for perspective, I've been on domestic flights in China in economy and had gluten-free meals. So I really would have thought in first class domestic in Japan, there'll be the same option too. The only thing I have to admit, last year when I was flying up around here, even when you do get business class flights, I flew from, where was it? Taipei. It was an international one, Taipei up to Tokyo or Osaka. The gluten-free meal is all like seafood. I'm not a seafood eater anyway, so who knows, even if I got one, it may not have been that great. But yeah, that's the honest truth, guys. I mean, for me, it wasn't really that special at all. I think realistically, if you're gonna pay for a ticket, it's maybe what, $300, maybe US or something, as comparison to maybe $100 for the economy. So if you've got a bit of money to blow, you're not using any sort of points or like frequent flyer programs like myself, you want a bit of extra comfort, get on the plane first, off the plane first, have some lounge access, and I'm sure majority of you don't have any sort of dietary requirements. You should be fine, and you'll probably enjoy a hell of a lot more than I did. But for me, if I take that particular flight again, I don't have a problem going in economy. So yeah, just my thoughts. Wasn't great, wasn't horrible, but yeah, much to be desired really. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion. I'm sure many other people have a different opinion than I do, but that's the beauty of, you know, individual thought. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. As you can see out here, I'm in Sapporo. Went out for a little bit of a walk this morning, trying to get a bit of exercise, and I really love this city. It's really beautiful. A lot of mountains, and this is where they had the Winter Olympics. I can't remember when they had it here, but I know they've had a Winter Olympics here. It's not overly cold right now. I'd say it's still about 25, 26. Feels a little bit humid because it's been raining. But yeah, absolutely beautiful. And I think this is probably going to be one of my favorite cities I've visited in Japan for sure. So yeah, tomorrow I'll be flying with Jetstar. So we'll go back to a bit of a budget style. Be flying Jetstar down to Tokyo Narita. And I'll be staying there overnight before flying Peach Airlines down to Osaka. I'll be in Osaka for 3 nights. I'm going to spend 2 nights in the actual city, and then I'll spend my last night near the airport because it's a pretty early flight the following day after that one, where I'll finally get to fly over to Nanjing, China, and meet up with Cindy. For those of you, I'm sure most of you know if you watch my channel enough, Cindy's my partner of 8 years, and she's been over in China now for the last few weeks, so it'd be great to see her, spend some time with her family, and I'll get it almost about 3.5, 4 weeks over there, which I'm really looking forward to, and also get to fly on a Chinese-made aircraft when I get over there too. So yeah, guys, once again, thank you very much for watching. If you made it this far into the video, and if you can hit the like button if you have enjoyed it. Also, if you're not subscribed, if you like this sort of content, please consider subscribing. But other than that, I'll catch you on the next one when we're flying Jetstar down to Tokyo tomorrow. Cheers. Cheers.